Does anyone deserve to be homeless? Well, we're about to find out in this clip between Douglas Murray and Bret Weinstein. It's a very interesting question because there is a homelessness crisis in certain states in America, and how to deal with that is, a subject of great debate. So let's watch the clip and see what these two gentlemen have to say about this whole situation.
For a homeless population to grow at the rate that it is growing, those people weren't homeless. Some of them were. But
yes.
Many of these people have gone from having the ability to house themselves to not having it. And we have allowed that to happen.
Well, again, I mean, not to want to play the sort of conservative card too much back at you, but one thing that always has to be on everyone's mind is there a scenario that you can imagine in which the person does actually deserve to be on the streets?
No.
This is a problem, isn't it? It's the same thing as the portions of the left, I'm not saying you, find it very hard to see what scenario leads anyone to be in prison. Well, and it's something on the same trajectory of thought, which is that I don't think that homelessness per se can ever be stopped, because I think that, for instance, there will be some people who actually, I mean, it's impossible to tell exactly what proportion, but there'll be a proportion of people who want that. I've noticed that in San Francisco and elsewhere, by the way. I mean, there are some people who seem to want to live on the streets. There's it's a small proportion perhaps, but a voluntary street-dwelling population might be something you can't eradicate. What you want to eradicate is the people who fell through layer after layer after layer of the society and absolutely do not want to be there. But as with prison, as with other things in our society where an individual ends up in a catastrophic situation, there does have to be some understanding of not always assuming that it was society that caused the thing to happen. Because, I mean, let me give you an example. It's obvious in American society at the moment, there's a debate over incarceration. There has been going on for a long time, incarceration rates, particularly over in breaking it down by racial origin.
Right.
And one of the answers that people have come to on this, I think actually it's a pretty good place to contest, is over incarceration rates of black, particularly male Americans, over relatively low-level drug issues, dealing in small amounts of marijuana, or dealing in large amounts of marijuana, and all of the comparisons. And this is what we were going back to earlier about the distribution of opportunity much more in society, which is that as a distribution, it's a good place to contest this. It does seem unfair to people, and I would share this, that somebody, whatever the racial origin, has their entire life affected, disenfranchised, future job opportunities forever taken from them for what could be seen as a relatively minor offence. And people leaning on this seem to me to be leaning on something which is reasonable. It's a reasonable concern. The problem is that those same people will not allow themselves to say, what is the thing that means, yes, you should be banged up, you should have future opportunities taken away from you because what you've done is deeply harmful to everyone else in society. And the problem is that these people, as I say, mainly a leftist problem, cannot do that bit.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with it. This is, the right can be heartless at times, but there are times where a form of heartlessness is necessary. If somebody is determined to do a thing and does it again and again, you cannot then say that we as a society let them down. No, that person's responsible. They have to pay.
Yeah, I totally agree. Question you asked me was whether anybody deserves to be homeless, right? Do people deserve to be in prison? Many do. I'm
not sure, by the way, that I think anyone deserves to be homeless.
Right.
But I'm saying the situation that emerges that means that some people will screw up again and again and again, and some people we present it only in terms of they haven't got the help they need. Yeah. And that is a very reasonable way to present it. But as we all know, there are people who every
legit
single
losers.
opportunity you give them, they they fall through.
Well, okay, you've got two categories. I'd say there are three categories, right? You've got a category of people who, given enough functional structure, would be productive and decent and have fallen through the cracks because there's no safety net, right? Then you have people who meet your description, who, given every opportunity, can't pull it together, but not necessarily because they want it that way. They may be badly damaged, incapable of doing the kinds of things that would solve the problem. And then you've got undoubtedly a category of people, and I don't know how big it is, but a category of people who just suck and aren't interested in participating in society. And
I know a couple of those people.
I would argue homelessness is not a right answer in any of those three categories, in part not just because of the people involved. The first two categories, I would argue, deserve our compassion.
Yes.
Right? The third category, I don't know that they deserve our compassion, but is it good for society to have homeless people?
Of course not.
It is not. And so you have to provide some reasonable alternative.
But you also have to make sure that third category, whatever number they are, do not end up confusing and confounding the rest of society.
Oh,
so
yes,
100%.
This is
the difficulty.
It's a parent's dilemma again. It's that at some point it cannot be extrapolated out onto everybody else when one person has behaved in a certain way for which they have to pay.
Totally. And with respect to the prison side of the equation, I would say I think it is insane that we do not distinguish between, at the very least, sociopaths, and maybe I mean psychopaths in this case, and other criminals, right?
And sorry, it's because the criminal one is in some ways easier. But I mean, going back to this thing, there's a protest in Portland the other night because of, I gather, sparked by the fact that a family who happened to be black stopped paying their rent some time ago. The landlord wants to evict them because they haven't been paying their rent, and they say racism, and now people are campaigning for this family to stay in the home.
The family itself says that? When you say they say racism.
So, yes, as I understand it,
Okay.
the people who live in the house say it's because of racism. I would venture, as an outsider, I'd venture it's highly unlikely that racism is the cause of the landlord wanting to evict them, and that it's more likely that the landlord wants to be paid for leasing his house to anybody, whatever their skin colour. I don't know. Maybe we found a white supremacist landlord in Portland. It's a strange place for white supremacists to try to earn their keep. But in this situation, every mechanism of the society, and this isn't just important, every mechanism of the society is in favour of the family who is not paying the rent.
Right.
Very, very little, and I'm not going to say Portland's an extreme example, but in general outside, very little of society looks to the landlord who is losing money and thinks that we should pity them. And that's because our societal ethic, again, it starts in a good place, it just doesn't know where the hell to stop, favours the person who appears to be the underdog over the person who is perceived to have privilege. And we have become wildly intolerant of and unsympathetic with anybody perceived to have privilege, and wildly oversympathetic with anybody who can be claimed to be in any way an oppressed group.
Right.
Even if they are allegedly oppressed because there's something they haven't been doing, which they should have done. That was the deal.
Right. Well, so in this case, I would just say, if you extrapolate, and this is the thing I think in some sense Americans are worst at the moment, is extrapolating. But if you extrapolate from, well, we can't very well evict these people for not paying because, it doesn't matter what follows the because, once you set that in motion, the point is what you've done is invalidated a system that houses people without suggesting a replacement for it. So it's insane, right? It's just simply unstable.
That thing of people falling off the bottom, when I said earlier, does anyone deserve to be homeless? What I'm trying to get at is society cannot rack itself endlessly over the tiny number of people who actually fall through their own volition.
Right.
We cannot be endlessly empathetic with those who have been given every opportunity and still fall. And one of the reasons is, and I mean, this is a very ugly, very unpleasant thing to say perhaps, is that knowing that that is possible is one of the things that keeps everyone else running.
Well,
So citing that, I mean, I have this instinct always with the homeless. I'm by no means heartless on this issue, but you know, it depends what your state in life is. But I've certainly had times in my life where I see somebody who's begging and I think, could be me. Could be me. And that's a good instinct to have for lots of reasons. One is it gives you sympathy with the person in question, and the other thing is it reminds you to work.
That was such an engaging clip. Wow. Yeah, that gave me a lot to think about, because the thing is the whole homelessness situation, it's like, I think the first two categories that Bret Weinstein, kind of outlined, I think, yeah, society, that problem needs to be eradicated. But there is that third category of people that absolutely does exist, who literally are they're committed to being losers. I know people in my life who are this way. They are given every opportunity to pick themselves up. They're given every single, their parents pay for, whatever they need to, have paid for. Like I know a guy who's like 28, and good gosh, this guy is, he's a mess. He's a real mess. It's sad being around him because, as kind of Douglas Murray said, it's like, this is shocking. I do not want to be this, and so therefore I'm going to work, extra hard to not become this person that is like an adult child loser. It's like, and those people, the question of like, does that sort of person deserve to be on the streets? I would say, the sort of person who's just committed to being a loser, committed to being selfish, committed to, forsaking every opportunity given to them. That person, I mean, it's in many ways they chose to be on the streets, if that is the case. And those people, like, we should not provide just, universal basic income for such people, okay? Like, it's just, no, they need to hit bottom so that they can realize, oh shit, I've got to get up. I gotta pull myself up by my bootstraps, and I have got to get to work. Because otherwise you'll create a society of, a bunch of lazy good-for-nothings who just, leech off of all the people that are actually holding society up. And yeah, great conversation. I just wish I could be in the room. So engaging. So, like, you can tell Bret Weinstein and Douglas are like, they just enjoy going back and forth in such a respectable manner. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on the clip. But now I want to know what you think. Does anyone deserve to be homeless? Let me know in the comment section below. And before I go, I just want to recommend something that a book review that I did several months ago over the book called Hunger by Newt Hampson. That book is very, very related to this discussion, for sure. I recommend that you check out my review. I'll leave a card or an end screen for it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. And please, everyone, have a nice day.